I mean, look at him. He looks like he's ready for a big time workout right now. Voch Lombardi, you just get finished with one, or are you getting ready to go to one, or what are you doing?
I had just finished watching. Let me tell you how important these situations are. Let me tell you how important draft season is. You contacted me Friday and we couldn't, well, we were supposed to do this Friday and we couldn't do it. And you was curious about tight ends. And, you know, I'm a draft guy and I take this thing super serious. And I was like, hey, I haven't watched tight ends yet. I normally hate watching tight ends. Tight ends are pretty boring. But I was like, man, boy, my ego, man. Thom Brennaman asked me about tight ends. So I was studying tight ends all weekend, and I studied just a handful right before we went live. So I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to leave. And I'm going to go to dojo to get my workout.
Okay. All right. Before we get to what the Bengals might or might not, and you and I were texting back and forth, talked about tight ends, been a lot of talk there, running backs maybe, offensive line. Seems like the issues never end around here. But I want to ask you, we were just talking about the combine. And you get into things where it's a long jump and it's a high jump. And we all know about the 40-yard dash. And they talk about how big a quarterback's hands are. And when you look at Anthony Richardson, okay, I mean, this guy, I just can't believe the physique on this guy. Okay, and he does great in all of these measurables, analytic measurables at the combine. I get it. But don't you have to look, Voch, at the game tape? I mean, he might have looked good, as they say, in a T-shirt and a pair of shorts. But, I mean, if I'm comparing his game tape to C.J. Stroud or Bryce Young, what are your thoughts on that? Game tape versus some of this stuff they do at the combine. What are you looking at?
So, talent evaluators must evolve. We must evolve because the game is going to keep evolving. So we can't be stuck in the old days where a 5'10" guy can't be a quarterback for you. I do believe in film. Film is king. I go film, then more film. Then I want to listen to them talk. I want to hear about the interviews. I want to know if they're a, love football guy, if they're an injured guy, if they're a gun under the seat guy. I just need to know these kind of things about the guy. And then, you watch combine just to kind of confirm what you know already. So Anthony Richardson's combine didn't confirm anything new to me that I didn't know already, but we must evolve. So if you'd have asked Voch 3 years ago, I would go, throw all this out because his college tape is XYZ or whatever, right? But we have new information. Every time you get new information, you must kind of, pivot with that information, Black Phillip always says this: have your opinion, don't let your opinion have you. And my opinion was always, if you trash on film in college, then you are bound to be trash on film in the league. But man, if they can fix Josh Allen, you know what I mean? Like Bills fans hate to hear that. Like they thought that it was some narrative that Josh Allen was bad. No, Josh Allen in Wyoming was bad. But, work had to be put in. Coaching Brian Daboll happened to him. And then Josh Allen turns into this totally different dude that wasn't on Wyoming film. You would still see Trace, but he was a different dude quarterback-wise. If they can fix Jalen Hurts, this is not a narrative, right? I understand Jalen Hurts just played in the Super Bowl. Shouts out to him. God bless him. But Jalen Hurts got his job taken by Tua Tagovailoa for a reason. He went to Oklahoma. I remember watching, CeeDee Lamb. Let's watch CeeDee Lamb tape. And I just remember all these bad throws that Jalen Hurts was making while I was watching CeeDee Lamb. I'm like, man, I wish Baker Mayfield was around in this era so I could see what that really looked like, right? So I look at a guy like Anthony Richardson, and I go, you would really be a fool to put Anthony Richardson in some complex offense, to put him in some offense where he's making 5 or 6 reads, these option routes. You would be foolish to put him in that type of offense, right? You watch Jalen Hurts Jalen Hurts make this big deep pass to this dude that was just wide open and nobody else around him. He'll do that 5 times a game. Jalen Hurts has made good throws. Let me just clean that up just to be sure. But in that offense, Jalen Hurts throws to wide open dudes. So if you have a dude like Anthony Richardson, it would be foolish of you to put some complicated quarterback scheme around him. They tried to do it with Justin Fields, right? Justin Fields, as a young rookie quarterback, they wanted him to beat guys with his arm. And Justin Fields can beat guys with his arms, but boy, look at his legs. Oh, look at his legs. And in the middle of the season last year, they just discovered, hey, let's just do this, and this, and take these things away. And let's just be great doing this. So if you have Anthony Richardson, you just can't expect him to be a Joe Burrow type guy. He's going to have to be an Anthony Richardson type guy. Now, I don't think you draft him ahead of C.J. Stroud or nothing like that. I don't think you take him over Bryce. You may have an argument for Will Levis because they're in the same kind of category as they make mistakes on the field guy. But, it's all about what team Richardson goes to and what coach can put his ego aside and just make a brand new playbook for Anthony Richardson. I think he can be good in the league if he's in the right situation.
All right, you were kind enough to look through some of the position needs for the Cincinnati Bengals. And, look, they spent a fortune on free agent offensive linemen last year. They bring in your old guy, Collins, to play right tackle. After a slow start, started to play well. They brought in Karras and Kappa, interior linemen. They were fantastic. Jonah Williams gets hurt, and by the time you get to the playoffs, you got 3 brand new starters, and now everybody wondering around here, are they going to keep Collins? Are they going to keep Jonah Williams at left tackle off knee surgery? If you're the Bengals, you don't have a tight end on the roster. It looks like they're going to have to do something with Joe Mixon as far as his contract is concerned, whether they renegotiate it and bring it down or just cut him loose. If they wait till June 1st, it's $10 million off the books. Tight end, they don't have one of those on the roster. If you're the Cincinnati Bengals, 28th pick in the draft, you, Voch Lombardi, would be looking at?
Well, as draft guy, you have to take the best player there that makes sense for you, right? I think if you try to get too cute in the draft process and go, I need offensive line, and that's what I'm going to do. By the time you get to your pick, and look, this is the bad part about winning games in the regular season. We get to pick way at the back of the draft. That's okay. I think some of the best guys are back there. But you don't want to be looking at one of the best pass rushers in the draft and go, hey, I can get one of these best let's just say Nolan Smith, right? Just this one character that I love so much. He's my edge 3 so far before I'm moving further up my board. I think he's better than some guys that are up there. You don't want to be looking at a Nolan Smith and go, man, that dude can really do some amazing things for my defense. And, I may need a tight end or a running back or something like that. I could take one of those guys later. But, boy, I want this pass rusher, but I don't want to take him because I may want offensive line, and the best offensive lineman on the board right now is the 5th tackle, right? So you have to ask yourself questions like that, and you normally want to take the best player. So in my mind, this is draft world, and teams suck at drafting, and other teams are better at drafting. So we really don't have a clue at who's going to be available at 27. So I always say take the best player within reason, within need. Do I think that 27 is too high to take a tight end? I don't. But there's going to be there's many tight ends in this draft, so you can definitely take a dude like 3rd round, 4th round. But running backs, you said, right? Joe Mixon. I am a Cowboy fan right now, right? Let me just tell you about Cowboy fans, right? And Zeke is on my team. Tony Pollard is on my team, and they're talking about tagging Tony Pollard for $10 million. Zeke talking about getting cut, saving 10 with him. There are so many running backs in this class. It would behoove you, and we hear it every year. Isaiah Pacheco, 7th round guy. He's going to come in and be just fine. You could sign Joe Mixon, you could, but you could just draft some running back. Let's just say Zach Charbonnet, right? You just draft him in the 3rd round, 2nd round, probably, right? He's going to be your running back. He may not be Joe Mixon, but he's going to be a good running back for you. And take that money that you would give to him and go sign, I don't know, T. Higgins or something, and then just move on with your life. Go get a young tight end that doesn't have to be like a top tier name in this draft. You don't need your year 1 tight end to be Travis Kelce this year, or Kittle this year. They can just slide into that system. And that's where the Bengals have the advantage, is that you guys have a franchise quarterback already. So you don't need your tight end or your running back to carry your quarterback. You have Joe. So Joe can, carry whoever's around him. So if you asking me about 27, just take the best player. That best player could be a corner. But then ask your top tier quarterback to elevate the tight ends and running backs around him.
What's your thoughts on the kid down in Texas? Because his name has been mentioned a lot as a potential if the Bengals do indeed cut Mixon loose. Talking about Robinson.
Oh, ain't no way y'all getting Bijan Robinson. I thought you was talking about the other one, Johnson. Oh, okay, cool. Rashawn Johnson. That's the other Texas running back that we actually have a shot to get. He was the backup guy, number 2, I believe. Pretty good back, solid guy, power guy, can run pretty good. But Bijan Robinson, that's just pre-draft dream. That's just February. That's just March talk. Bijan Robinson not going to be there. Bijan Robinson, he is amazing. He's incredible. And normally, and I'm just giving you some more and more evidence, right? We always talk about this. Hey, why should you draft a running back early? Well, he's different. He's a weapon. He's no running back. He's a running back sometimes, but other times he's lining up in the slot. Other times he's the best athlete on your team. Other times he's catching the ball off the backfield. He's not just some regular running back. So Bijan's going to be going, I'll say top 15 to be safe, but he should be going top 10 somewhere if it's up to me.
All right, you look at, some of the tackles, and again, there have been a lot of names here mentioned that if the Bengals want to go tackle in that early round, there's some guys that could be on the board by the time they get there. Darnell Wright out of Tennessee. This guy's a monster, 6'5", 335. Do you think he's around when the Bengals pick?
Possibly, but he's a right tackle. So if you're looking for a right tackle, left tackle, sure. Can he play left tackle? He's played left tackle before, but Darnell's biggest highlight is that he lined up against Will Anderson and just put hands on him for 4.5 quarters or whatever, because they've played multiple times over his life. Darnell is a technique guy, and I love the athletic guy. I love the dude with all the measurables. Paris Johnson is one of those guys. Ohio State. I'm sure you've mentioned him before. He's a measurables guy. He's an athlete guy, but I just like the block you guys. I like I just show up and do my job guys. I like the technique guys. I like the hand fight guys. I like I'm going to bait you with the left, you swipe, boom, and next thing you know, you're on the ground because I've, messed around with your leverage, with your lean tactics. It's all about nuance for me. And I'm an offensive line guy. I love offensive line to pieces. Peter Skoronski is a guy that I'm not a big fan of because he's not nuanced offensive line guy. So what do you mean by that?
What do you mean by that? Because most people feel like he's the best tackle in the draft. Why are you not high on him?
So here's my thing. He's from Northwestern, and just because he's a tackle from Northwestern, people like to go, oh, Rashawn Slater from Northwestern. Let me tell you what I loved about Rashawn Slater from Northwestern. He is a nuanced guy, and we saw this because he played Chase Young in his biggest highlight, right? So we look at Slater and we go, okay, well, he's a short arm guy. What does he do against these long arm guys? Okay, cool. Chase Young long arms me. Let me kind of fight the elbow a little bit to make his arm shorter. Let me swipe a little bit so I can get hands on him. Let me bait. Let me use my feet. Let me use technique. So when you're a short arm offensive lineman, yes, you can win a lot of those exchanges with these long arm guys because you are technical enough to do it. Everybody loves to go, oh, what about Joe Thomas? He's a short arm offensive lineman that can do it. But yes, he's one of the best offensive linemen of all time. For every Joe Thomas, there's 1,000 short arm offensive line that got to play guard because they can't do this, right? Peter Skoronski is a guy who's constantly being little brothered. What I mean by little brother, when an end long arms you, and when the big brother put the hand on your head, you can't really get him, but he's long enough to get you. That's what happens with Peter Skoronski. But it doesn't happen with Rashawn Slater because he has timing. He has hand technique. He has nuance, so that doesn't happen to him. But Skoronski deals with, he doesn't deal with long arm guys very well. That's why you're hearing guys say, oh, well, Peter Skoronski, he's a guard. This is why he can't play guard for me, because I need my guards to be powerful enough to dig dudes out of A gap, right? The best way to run the zone, two things you got to do to run zone offenses, man, is you got to deal with A gap and you got to block the mic. So if you're a guard, I need you to be powerful enough to deal with A gap. Skoronski's not a guy that's powerful enough to deal with A gap for me. He's about powerful enough to be a tackle, and just because you're a guard, I mean you're a bad tackle. Two totally different jobs. I think he'll be a fantastic center, but that sounds disrespectful to say about the top 10. But my whole thing about him is he's either going to have to be strong enough to play guard, or he's going to have to learn technique enough to be a tackle guy. It's easier for him to learn technique for him to be strong, because if anybody's had an offensive lineman that was a technique guy that's not very strong, it takes a long time to get strong if you ever get strong enough. So my thing about Skoronski is just he's not ready to go right now. He takes a little bit of work. I think Paris Johnson is a more ready to go right now guy. I think Darnell Wright is a more ready to go guy right now. DeJuan Jones better than all of them. Paris is
that's where I was going next, because there are a lot of people around here that feel like, and look, we follow Ohio State around here. There's no doubt about it. Paris Johnson's a Cincinnati kid. We love the kid, all that he does off the field. His mom in those interviews with him raised that kid by herself, and she is off the charts. He's off the charts, and he'll be long off the charts by the time the Bengals pick. But DeJuan Jones now is a little different cat. They call him a project, a monster of a man, 6'9", 330, whatever he is, 340. Sure. You really like him, huh? Because a lot of people around here feel like if DeJuan Jones is there late in that first round, Why not take him? Is he a reach?
I think Dewan is better than Paris right now, but so you're either floor guy or you're ceiling guy. Your floor is what you are right now, how good of a player you are right now. Your ceiling is how good can you be if you fix all of your issues, right? Some guys have a little bit of both. Some guys are just one or the other. For example, like Joey Bosa would be a very high floor guy. He comes fresh out the pack. He's ready to go, as opposed to a guy like Myles Garrett, who was just fully athletic, but he probably didn't have the nuance. Okay, cool. He's high floor with a little more ceiling. Then there's guys like, I don't know, Travon Walker that goes first overall last year with all just athletic ability, but not really, nuance very much. So we don't know really what he's going to be. So those are your three kind of categories or whatever. Paris Johnson is a high ceiling guy, right? He has the build. He looks good. He has the arm length. He has the feet, the athleticism. So you look at him and you go, okay, if I just teach you how to really crank down on the offensive line. So if I teach you all the nuance that Darnell Wright knows, then Paris Johnson could be first overall pick in this draft because he has the build, he has the athleticism, right? So Paris could be fantastic. DeJuan Jones is a guy, huge as hell, kind of slow-footed a little bit, whatever. He maybe doesn't have the super athleticism, but man, when you watch the film, he has a handful of tools. Paris may have 12 tools, but DeJuan got like 5. And with his 5 tools, he just doesn't lose battles with his 5. He just doesn't. So you can beat him with speed. Technically, you'll beat him to his back hip, right? But he has arm length, right? So Paris would have to be athletic to catch up and get that guy. DeJuan goes, okay, you probably just beat me, but I just caught you. Once I get hands on you, you're done because he's powerful. Run game wise, he's the biggest, strongest, most powerful dude on the field, right? So as long as he gets hands on you, boom, you're driving forward. You're going from point A to point B beyond your free will. They do a lot of outside zone stuff at Ohio State, so you would think, oh, well, there's no way they're going to ask DeJuan Jones, big size, slow foot DeJuan Jones to outside reach block some in. No, they asked him to do it, and he reach blocked the hell out of these ends, and he does it well, probably because he's long as hell and he can get arms on you. Even if his body doesn't get there, his hands get there first. It is what's my guy in the top? Tyree Wilson, John Jones, DeJuan Jones. Those are the long arms. Those are the long arms for the weekend. DeJuan Jones, his arm length erases all of his deficiencies, right? So when I'm watching on film, I go, okay, who has more plays that I like, DeJuan Jones or Paris Johnson? Paris Johnson probably has more cute plays. DeJuan Jones is the more efficient player. And when you line up against Georgia, Jalen Carter, the best player in the draft, they'll do a lot of gapping shit, line him up at the end a bunch. But every time Paris ran into Jalen Carter took his lunch money. Every time Jalen Carter ran into DeJuan Jones, we didn't hear about Jalen Carter making a play on that play because DeJuan Jones mitigated all that power that he has. So I like DeJuan better. And if he's there in the first round, it's tough for me to take him because it's probably better players like an edge, like a corner or something like that. But DeJuan Jones is not going to last very long.
All right, last thing I want to ask you about, big picture in the NFL. I think the biggest single story in the league is what's going to happen with Lamar Jackson. Because if you believe what you read, if they tag him, all of a sudden he jumps up into the $35, $40, $45 million a year, 1-year deal contract. It would prevent Baltimore from going out and signing anybody. And they have some needs, without a doubt, at wide receiver. They have some needs at cornerback. They might have other needs if they have to cut some other players loose because they tag him. It doesn't look like they're going to get a long-term deal done. Where do you think Lamar Jackson, what do you think ends up happening with him when all is said and done for this upcoming year?
I think it'll be silly if Baltimore doesn't try to keep him. And, this whole I can't pay my quarterback and put pieces around him thing is nonsense because we just saw Pat Mahomes get the biggest damn contract that we've ever seen in our lives, and they just won a Super Bowl with him, right? And this is what people kind of got to think about, right? Okay, you sign Lamar Jackson. Maybe you can't get all the premium guys in the world, right? But Prochet shouldn't be his number two receiver. Like, shouts out to James Prochet. This carousel of running backs that he has, like, these guys, like, you can get guys help, but they may not be top tier help. So the Chiefs didn't go get a AJ Brown or nothing like that. They didn't get him a wide receiver, but they got like this all-star team of wide receiver twos that their other team didn't want. Like Marquez Valdez-Scantling is a serviceable number two dude. Juju Smith-Schuster is a serviceable number two dude. And you kind of put those dudes together and you go, all right, we got a good little core now. Right, Tony, from the Giants.
Yep.
Okay, they didn't want him either. Okay, cool. Let's just pick a role. Travis Kelce is the number one guy, so let's just mix and match and just clean pieces up so that Mecole Hardman's not our number two guy. So I think the Ravens have to do that. They can't use this idea of, hey, we signed Lamar Jackson, so we can't sign anybody else. That's false. You can draft these guys for one, but then for two, you can find some cheap contract to get some wide receiver that's better than what you got, to get some offensive lineman that's better than what you got, to get a tight end number two. Okay, look, Lamar Jackson loved to throw the tight ends. Cool. We know Mark Andrews is good. Let's get another tight end that's just kind of good, that's just not terrible, and just keep building on defense. The biggest problems with the Ravens last year was first, Jackson got hurt, but then the defense, right? Defense gave up points. Cool. Let's just slowly but surely turn over stones. Okay, cool. Well, we're terrible there. Let's just go from terrible to just bad. Or if we're bad here, let's just go from bad to average here. And that's how you make these small improvements. You ain't got to go and get Jalen Ramsey for $20 million. Because that one guy's not going to fix all your problems. You have to get many guys to fix many problems. And I think that's a better way. But in this league where it's hard to find quarterback and it's hard to find franchise quarterback, okay, cool. You can take your chances and, draft some guy in the 7th round and hope you got Brock Purdy because you didn't want to sign Lamar Jackson, or just sign Lamar Jackson and just fix the small problems.
All right, well, let me ask you this then. Final question. I thought that was going to be until you started talking about, what they did in Kansas City. And a lot of people around here, they're kind of saying to themselves, okay, well, the Bengals have big decisions to make on 3 guys. They don't have to sign any of them long-term this offseason, though most feel like Burrow's contract will get done, and then you go from there. But the big conversation piece is, based on what you just said, why pay Chase and Huggins, and you're going to pay through the nose. They're 2 of the top 10 receivers in the NFL, no doubt about it. Why pay both of them? And why not just pay one and consider packaging up the other? Not necessarily for this year, but after this year.
Okay, so let me just fix my soundboard real fast. Can y'all hear this? Y'all heard that?
Yeah.
This little beep right here? Y'all heard it? Okay, cool. So look, this is my theory, because there must be balance, right? Yeah, you got to save your money, but you are a playoff team trying to win a championship. And you can have all the solid to good dudes in the world. Yeah, you want to, fix up some of your role players to make sure they're not terrible. But at the end of the day, the business that we're in is we're trying to win Super Bowls. The Jets may not be trying to win a Super Bowl right now. They're trying to roster build, but you need what I call mother, right? So the Cowboys, right? The Cowboys are in the same division as the Eagles, and the Eagles have filled their roster. All kind of miscellaneous, dude. They just pulled Ndamukong Suh off the street, Linval Joseph off the street. They just pulled these random guys off the street. They went and got Chauncey Gardner. But at the end of the day, they still got mother, right? So if I'm the Dallas Cowboys, I got all kind of Michael Parsons and Trey Diggs is around me, but on offense, like, Noah Brown is my number 2 receiver, right? No, I need a little more mother in my life, right? So if I'm looking at the Bengals, you need T. Higgins because he's a mother. You need Jamar Chase because he's a mother, right? You want to keep as many mother as you can, but you still have to turn over those small pieces on your roster. And if you look at the Ravens offense, it's really Lamar Jackson and no mother, right? So they do need to get him some help at some point. So if they need to spend a big bag, a big amount of money, a big draft pick to get him help, a mother, right? And then once that's in place, you take the leftover $8 million or so you got and kind of turn those pieces of the rosters around to make sure that you go from a bad player to an average player or a trash player to a okay player. Then that's what you got to do, because there must be balance. You just can't have a team full of average people. You need some better dudes at some point because you're trying to win a Super Bowl.
All right. But you're the man. I tell you, I got to get one of those buttons around here. I mean, I'm surrounded by people with terrible language. And I've got to get one of those myself. You are the man. We were getting all kinds of people in our chat saying Voch is the best guest we have on this show.
Appreciate y'all. Thank y'all so much, man. You know, this is fun. It's a cool little gig. I love to do it. Thank you guys for having me on, man. Get you a button, man, because you know apparently I've been cussing too much, so I got this button so I can say mother, and I can just
I get it. Voch, you're the man. Thank you for your time, buddy. Have a good workout today.
Appreciate you. Salute.
All right. God bless. Now there's a guest right there, right? Our man Voch. Love that guy.